The New York Knicks have high levels of interest in Bruce Brown, and it looks like Bruce Brown also has high level of interest in the New York Knicks as he praised the fact that he thinks he'd be the perfect player for Tom Thibodeau's system, and we have to talk about this. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do, because the New York Knicks have reportedly a lot of interest in Bruce Brown. As you look here, according to Mark Stein, the Knicks have been frequently mentioned as likely suitors for Bruce Brown. Stein reports that the Raptors are looking for a future first-round pick and a quality player at a minimum. So, if that is to happen, I would assume that that means that Evan Fournier is going to have to be in the trade just because it's the only way that contracts work. And also, the Knicks would have to give one of their firsts, probably not an unprotected first, maybe the Dallas pick in 2024. The Raptors don't have their pick this year unless it conveys to a top 6 pick in the draft. And it doesn't exactly feel like they're tanking, so it's not very likely that the Raptors have their own draft pick this year. So it would be helpful for them to have at least, some sort of pick, considering they are, in a sense, rebuilding. They're a young team. Siakam's gone. OG Anunoby is on the Knicks. RJ Quickly, Scotty, Jakob Poeltl. The team's young. They could go for Quentin Grimes, add another young Knick, or young former Knick, it would be then, and really continue to fill out this rebuild while also potentially falling more and more into the lottery to where they maybe could get a top 6 pick. And most likely they'd have to jump into the top 4. They're probably not going to be a bottom 6 team in the NBA at all this season, but they could jump into that top 4. The lottery is sort of, leaning towards the way now since the Zion year in 2019, to where even the worst team in the league doesn't have a great chance of getting the first overall pick. I believe it's around 14%. Obviously, the Detroit Pistons were supposed to have the first overall pick last year and land Victor Wembanyama. They fell all the way to 5th and ended up with Ausar Thompson, who's been very good in his own right, but he's not Wemby. So, obviously, we know that the draft is not something set in stone. Teams can jump up. The Raptors jumped up in the draft lottery pretty recently when they got Scotty Barnes. And maybe they want to try to get that luck again. Bruce Brown doesn't feel like he fits on the Raptors. I don't really see a point of keeping him if you're going to rebuild. He has that team option at the end of this season, and the Raptors could just decline it and let him walk, but then they'd be losing him for nothing, when instead they could just trade him, and they're going to trade him. Now, since there is the traded player exception, he cannot be traded with anyone else on the Toronto Raptors, so he would have to be traded by himself. The Knicks currently have 14 players on roster because they waived Taj Gibson, so they would have more room to do a 2-for-1 or 3-for-2 trade, where the Knicks are getting an extra player in return. So because of that, we have to be well aware of what is going on here, and that the Knicks very much can do this and go with Evan Fournier and Quentin Grimes and give a first rounder for Bruce Brown. The question is, do we want to do that? Well, we'll get into that, but first, before we get into that, let's get into the fact that Bruce Brown seems like he pretty much definitely wants to be on the New York Knicks. As he was asked about that, he talked about his fit with Tom Thibodeau, and he said, "I'm a dog. I can do just about whatever Tibbs needs. I play extremely hard on both ends. It's the type of player he likes. Every time we play Tibbs, I go up and shake his hand because of what he's done. It's nothing but respect. I love New York." Now, we're going to get into that I love New York quote a little bit more, but something to highlight is that Bruce Brown did play for the Brooklyn Nets for 2 years, and he also claimed to not really love New York before he got here, but then he started playing for the Nets, and he changed his tune on it. Now, if you can change your tune on New York if you're a professional basketball player and you're not even playing for the Knicks, imagine if you're playing for the team in New York that actually has fans. If the Knicks succeed in the playoffs and Bruce Brown is on that team, he's going to, in one way or another, be immortalized to New York basketball fans because we just respect the guys who come in here, play hard-nosed basketball, and we show them constant love. I mean, look at a role player like Iman Shumpert. To this day, Knicks fans love him just because he did his thing. He was on a successful Knicks team. Even when you're not on a successful Knicks team, like Knicks fans, we look really positively back at someone like Langston Galloway, who was really just like our tank commander for a little bit and was like one of our best guards throughout the dark ages of the team, and then hardly ever played in the NBA when he wasn't on the Knicks. But we loved him, and he's one of those players where he's obviously not some New York basketball legend, but he is someone who a lot of Knicks fans would always recognize and appreciate what he did for the team. Now, if we take a look right here, Bruce Brown has played in the NBA for a couple of years now. He's been here since the 2018-19 season, so this is season 6 for him. And he was drafted in the second round, basically instantly got a lot of minutes for the Detroit Pistons, but he's been around the block. He's been on the Pistons for 2 years, went to the Nets for 2 seasons, played the 1 season in Denver, then went off to Indiana for 33 games, and is now on the Raptors, and it looks like he will be on his third team by the time or the third team this season by the time that this season is over. It's probably going to be either the Knicks or the Lakers at this point, but you also never know. The Knicks are very, very secretive in what they're doing. But Brown's put up good numbers. He had a season with the Nets where he shot over 40% from 3. He's been a hard-nosed defender. He's one of those guys, kind of a jack-of-all-trades, master of none, very similar to Josh Hart. And that's kind of my drawback. If you look at his numbers, they have some Josh Hart resemblance right there. He's a good rebounder for his size, can play a few different positions despite only being 6'4". And he is a hard-nosed defender. So what I mean by he's kind of like Josh Hart is, I mean he's exactly like Josh Hart. He's the spitting image of Josh Hart. He's the same player. They are the same person, I'm convinced. And it's why I'm kind of against doing a Bruce Brown trade. I think the Knicks could go for something that would make more sense for them, such as a point guard who could come off the bench, like Terry Rozier or Malcolm Brogdon or someone like that. Maybe even a Colin Sexton. Who knows? But Bruce Brown is probably one of the best, if not the best player that you could get at the deadline to come off the bench. So that's kind of where the question lies. Do we just go with talent over fit and just take as much talent that this Knicks team can get and have the 8-man playoff rotation, have a lot of similarities between Bruce Brown and Josh Hart, and then also have hopefully Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, or maybe Hartenstein coming off the bench while Mitch plays like less minutes as the starting center, if that makes sense? Because it seems like Mitch will be back this season. Will he be fully healthy? Who knows? But he'll probably play in the playoffs if he is ready to go. I don't think the Knicks are going to hold him off. The Knicks want to see how good they can be this year. That's not a secret. And if they want to see how good they can be this year, they're going to need the best offensive rebounder and one of the top rim protectors in the NBA in Mitch, even if he's not at full strength and if we're using Hartenstein more, which we probably should. I mean, maybe give Hartenstein 28 minutes a night and give Mitch 20. Let Mitch slowly get integrated back. Base it off matchups. Base it off who's playing well. Have Hartenstein finish the games because you can't just hack a Mitch Hartenstein. He'll hit his free throws consistently. They cover for each other. And they're also really good friends. So whatever happens there could work. The question is, do you want Bruce Brown and Josh Hart coming off the bench together and then having a lot of redundancy with your bench players? It's still not a lot of shot creation outside of Jalen Brunson. There's still some holes. It doesn't really feel like the Knicks are fixing like any of their problems through Bruce Brown. It just feels like they're becoming a little better. Whereas they can become better and also fix their problems within one trade. Say they're trading for Terry Rozier. You can also pull back. You can also pull in Nick Richards, give a first rounder, give Fournier, probably Grimes too. And I think that would make more sense for the Knicks than a Bruce Brown trade because you could flip Terry Rozier for a star. The same way that you could flip Bruce Brown, as we just saw. He just was the best player in the Siakam trade who the Raptors got back. That pick was centered around those first-round draft picks that the Raptors got, the one from the Pelicans and the 2 from the Pacers. But still, Brown can be the headlining player of a trade if you're trading for a star. Ken Rozier, who knows? I'm going to say yes, he's averaging 24 and 7 this year. And I think you could just go with him and have a better team. Now, if you look at Bruce Brown's playoff stats, his best playoff performance was the 4-game sweep that the Nets suffered against the Celtics, LOL. And he shot 43% from the field. He was balling out. I loved watching Bruce Brown on the Nets. And by I loved watching Bruce Brown on the Nets, I really mean I couldn't stand watching Bruce Brown on the Nets because I don't like the Brooklyn Nets. Because I don't like their 6 fans. They're annoying, and they think they're better than the Knicks for some reason. And it is what it is. But also just one quick look at that, because I did get diverted, is that Brown, obviously a major factor for the Denver Nuggets when they won the NBA Finals. 12 points per game off the bench in the playoffs. His shooting was not great, though. He did play 26 and a half minutes. He was their 6th man. He had a lot of great stuff, and he shot well from the free throw line. He pulled down 4 rebounds. He just did Bruce Brown stuff. Like, that's really what we're going to see from Bruce Brown if he goes to the Knicks. And we kind of see it from Josh Hart, so I don't know if it makes the most sense. But let's be clear about something. It would make the Knicks better. if the Knicks want to get as good as possible, I don't think Bruce Brown is the answer. If they want to get someone who they know they can flip for a star, who also will still make them better this season, that's the logic behind Bruce Brown. And I could see the Knicks doing it, but I don't think they're going to be the team who ends up getting him. Just a hunch. I think the Lakers might. Bruce Brown also just said, I love New York. I hated New York before I lived here, but as soon as I moved here, I loved it. Anytime you want to do something, you can go do it. Great restaurants, great city. I love being back. That's just a good thing to hear from all players who might want to leave their team. Like, that's not just Bruce Brown centric. New York's the greatest city in the world. We are a destination for players now. We're no longer, oh, I love New York, but the Knicks, it's rough. It's rough in New York right now. No, that's not the case. Now we're one of the best teams in the NBA. So now we can land star players. Is Bruce Brown a star? No. But if he sees this, he's a highly respected player within the NBA. Other players are seeing this too, and they're going to feel some sort of way. Maybe they go for Bruce Brown and he helps them land a star through trading him later. I don't see it, though. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's way more likely that the Knicks end up, like, maybe landing D'Angelo Russell in this three-way trade where the Lakers are going to get DeJounte and the Hawks don't want him. Or don't want him meaning D'Lo. Or maybe they just go for Terry Rozier or probably not Jordan Clarkson, maybe Malcolm Brogdon. Who knows? But we will definitely keep you guys updated, so you don't want to miss that. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, turn on post notifications, all that stuff. Is it going to drastically change your life? No, but you're going to see more of this face, which, you know, maybe isn't the greatest thing in the world, but you might get to hear this voice, which also might not be the greatest thing in the world. But I talk basketball, so if you like basketball, if you're bored, playing 2K at home, doing work, chilling at the gym, chilling with your friends, you just want to hear some basketball conversations, subscribe to Knicks Digest, man. All good stuff. And if you subscribe, you never know what's going to happen. But nothing bad can happen. Only good things. So have a great day, guys, and go Knicks.